Welcome. This is David Bowles, Human Meme. Today's topic: when a life flashes before your eyes. We may have seen our own lives flash before our eyes in a moment of jeopardy or contempt or fear. But have you ever watched someone else's life flash before your eyes, and that person is a stranger? Someone you just happened to set your eye upon, by chance and never by purpose. And you see this stranger, and you do not touch them, but instantly and irrevocably everything past and forward about them is put hard into view in your hand. This happened to me the other day at a fast food restaurant. I watched this young woman with her elderly mother standing in line waiting their turn. And when I saw the young woman trying hard to fit in, trying harder to look as though she wasn't really living above her means, I felt a great sorrow for her. I could see her hair wasn't quite right, not quite the style you could see she was trying to copy. And her handbag was torn, and her clothes were knockoffs. But she was holding herself in line in public as if her bag were an $800 original and not just a 5-street corner copy. And yes, I admit I'm focusing on the visual and the visceral, because I didn't get to speak to her. I don't know her. I just glimpsed her and knew everything about her. And this information, whatever it is, started pouring in at me from wherever it comes from, ripe for analysis. And there is a bright line between being comfortable with your real life and your fake status and yourself, without worrying about not living up to the obvious facade you have created. And when people know you and can see through you, a choice has to be made. Do you keep playing along, or do you just admit you're faking it, you're trying to make it? And that day, as we stood there in line, I saw the young woman age before me. She fell into disappointment. She wrinkled into a mirror of her mother. She folded into the cold grave that awaits every one of us. And there stood her mother by her side, disheveled and wanting. And the daughter was clearly giving her mother a treat off the dollar menu. And the daughter knew the game, but not the rules of the game. And the young woman was trying to play it off and out, while the mother was content in just getting a hamburger into her mouth. And all of this took about 30 seconds. Watching, listening, discovering. And sure, I could be wrong about all of that I've been sharing with you. I've misjudged everything. I was lost in my own fantasy, projecting all my faults and deficits upon strangers I never knew and never will become. All of us standing alone together in a long line. But we do leave ourselves open for reading and interpretation. And in that risk of being open and not closed, our secrets and our dreams are made available for the reaping. We may be misunderstood. Our labels may not reveal us. Is it better to hide the real of us? Or is it the better path forward to just be who we are without fraud or pretending? Does it really matter if we're poor trying to pretend we are rich? Is the bottom line everything, always and forever? Is perfect hair worth the loss of the self in the fantasy? Well, if we choose to reimagine ourselves against the norm of our station, might we sometimes survive the higher climb out of our current station? But then we risk being kicked in the face for not belonging. And who are we to argue we belong and that we fit in with those who hang above us? And yes, there are always those above us, lurking there, ready to strike us down. And so we try to stand out without being noticed. We try to run while standing still. We try to conquer without lifting a fist. And yet we are always found out, because nobody likes a pretender, and everyone wants to be a winner. And that, my human meme friend, is how we end up in a society with sameness, where everyone earns the participation trophy and nobody is allowed to be different. Nobody can be permitted to stand out, because getting by pretending is all about fitting in and never being discovered. And yet, there are some of us who are cursed with knowing, of unwittingly and unwillingly turning over the rotted log to reveal what lives beneath. And this sort of unholy knowing is a curse, a monument to suffering, because we all have our secrets, and our privacy is no longer sacred. And so we just wait to be discovered, found out, and revealed by public eyes, flaying us in private moments of revelation and expectation. We continue to live our lives, not in sorrow, but in sympathy for those who are not satisfied with their lives, and for those who hope to trade in a moment of beauty and hope for a second of respect and honor. Sometimes the better path forward is to overlook what stands before you in a long, never-ending line, and to not always see what is presented before you for analysis and for the taking, and for the provocation. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.